Today, we're going to be talking about branding and the actual psychological effects of branding. We've done episodes like this before. I've covered them in like YouTube videos, but this is one that I wanted to bring up just because we've been focusing on this with Altura a lot recently, and we'll talk about that as we go. But all in all, welcome back, guys, to the actual Ascendant podcast. I'm Caleb Schilke. I'm your host. With me, we have
Anthony Parra, co-host.
You gotta get like a sentence or a tagline or something you can say after that.
I've been thinking not of one, but I've been thinking the same thing the last like 3 times. It's always like, and I'm Anthony Parra. It's kind of like there's some malfunction.
Reading your driver's license, basically. So today, episode 27 is called Decoding the Palette. So this discussion started from a debate, actually, that Anthony and I had about like the colors and the branding and stuff for the Altura platform. We began with this like cyan, turquoise, blue, and black scheme, as you guys are familiar with, which is actually the live website now. Which had kind of this crypto-y matrix style theme. I was concerned about the trust that it signaled and kind of the overall messaging behind it. Obviously, when you're trying to sell to entrepreneurs and business owners, selling this like NFT spacey Web3 style community has some issues, right? And then vice versa too. Trying to sell the hype of our NFTs that we're launching to entrepreneurs, you know, if we're too clean and too like Google workspacey, it's gonna be hard, right? So it's a big problem. And I was concerned about what that said. So since then, we've tested various different color options on the platform. We're going to actually cover the color wheel for those of you who didn't pass kindergarten. And we're going to talk about what different colors represent and examples from brands. We're also going to discuss how companies handle branding and why signaling the right message subconsciously, more importantly, is as important as doing so consciously. If you don't address how the brain actually processes signals of perception, brand, when the biggest, you've heard the biggest thing about branding is the linking, right? You're linking yourself to an idea, to a color, to a similar product, right? With a collaboration. But reducing the steps from, to discovery to purchase can directly impact revenue. So can the associations that you make. So can the amount of times they see you each day. These are things that you don't actively think about. Anthony, in your brain somewhere, you know how many times you've driven past a McDonald's today. You would just have to think about it. It's the answer is in your subconscious mind. You have seen McDonald's logos today without realizing, but subconsciously you've been training your brain every time you saw it to want that a little bit more. Even though obviously not of us are probably ever going to get it, but for most people that's pretty effective. We thankfully have the conscious, filters to know what we want, but a lot of people don't. And I'll say that on a platform, reducing the steps from getting there to look at ChatGPT. How many, literally you open it and you can start using ChatGPT. There's no complicated sign up. It's just right there, which is why they have an amazing retention rate because it's so easy to get into it. And speaking about that, Anthony, let's get into this here. So we've talked about the development of the platform a lot on these episodes. So I wanna have you for a second talk about first of all, explain what you know about branding from like your side of it, and then I'm gonna try to challenge your points or dive deeper into them if they're right. And just kind of give me a 30-second rundown for newbies about what they need to know with their business.
Well, basically, your brand is what you signal to the world. It's what, without saying anything, expresses what you're about. Invokes some sort of emotions into the end user, potential end user. It pretty much summarizes without any text. It's like colors that make people feel a certain way about you. It's like you can kind of convey the level of professionalism that you exhibit in your work. It's basically just a way for people to kind of get a sense of. It's basically allowing people to judge you like a book from its cover. Is what branding is. That was 30 seconds, I think.
Okay, yeah, I'd say it's like about there. But basically, look at Apple, right? Why can Apple charge so much? Because their brand is clean. It signals high modern technology, engineering, the feat of engineering, right? It doesn't look like, I don't know, something that's like made in China, basically, even though ironically it is. It's premium luxury style technology that isn't as complex as an Android. It lives off the minimalistic theme. And that's why they can charge way more and massive profit margins because of it. Initially, right, on our website to Altura, we'll talk about that, guys. You had that turquoise kind of black design that looked innovative for crypto, but it signaled a higher bounce rate on the back end data. Users were arriving, they'd look at it and then they'd be leaving because I think honestly it was just because they were confused about what we truly stood for. We were signaling we're an entrepreneur society in the wording, but then subconsciously we didn't align that. Think about a conversation you've had, Anthony, with somebody that, can you remember like a specific instance or something where you could tell someone was lying to you about something? Like somebody wasn't telling you the most honest truth about what they're actually, saying in the moment. You could tell there was something they were holding back.
Yeah, absolutely. Many times in my life, it's pretty
What
common.
What tells you they're not telling the truth?
Shiftiness, tone of voice, where they're looking, how they're saying it, out of character behaviors.
Well, they didn't tell you they're lying though. Like nothing they told you said, I'm lying about this.
No.
None of the things you said were direct words.
No, it doesn't need to for it to be clear. I mean, humans are very expressive in their character. So
Okay, so you're telling me that there's a connect between things that you can't directly read or hear in words and the bigger picture. There's more to the story. And that difference is what determines whether or not somebody's lying. Somebody can tell you you could see them or based on body language alone, that's the majority of conversation, right? If I said, I didn't drive your car today, man. I left your keys at home. And I said, I promise you, don't worry. I didn't drive your car today. I just left the keys at home. Like you can tell by my body language, I'm not being direct with you. There's so much more to the story than just the words. Okay. So when on a website, the connection here is when the same words are backed by different color schemes, and color is a big part of it. We're not just going to talk about color, but they're backed by imagery that maybe makes us look too like of a gamer community and not enough of a business platform or vice versa. And we're not clear about that. And there's a disconnect between the words we're saying and the body language of our actual website design. To everybody else, it seems like we're lying. Like maybe not, that might not be the word they use, but they're going to feel like something's off. And so they're not going to trust the messaging we're putting out. Does that make sense?
yeah, absolutely.
So guys, it matters. Please don't think it doesn't. When you're just picking a Shopify store design, don't just look at, oh, that looks cool, I like that. I want you to, if you want to win, you need to genuinely think about what you're telling people. And this goes all the way down to the colors, right? The designs influence the subconscious before any text is even read, right? If you land on a website and there's a video playing, there might be text right in front of you on the headline, but you're gonna be like, what is that video? It's like capturing my attention. And if it's like a luxury video, somebody on a yacht, that didn't say any words, but you already know they're kind of a premium brand. For platforms like Altura, I found that shortening the path between landing to transaction means these signals determine conversions, right? And minimizing them, but being effective with them is what makes a brand $1 million company or not. So the color wheel, let's talk about that. Do you know the 3 primary colors, Mr. Air Force Academy? Navigator Science?
Should be what? Blue, red, and yellow. You're like double checking.
You know what's weird too is like, like on your computer, when you have like the color wheel and stuff, it says RGB. So same with like your display settings, but then those aren't the 3 primary colors. So I think that throws off a lot of people because RGB is like the red, green, blue. But it's yellow. Obviously most of us know, do you know like what warm or cold colors are?
You like closer to red or blue?
Okay. So like what would yellow be? Warm or cold? What would orange be?
Warm.
What would purple be? So guys, obviously like purple's closer to blue, even though it's kind of mixed, but like we look at those tones, right? Versus hot, like think of fire and water, right? Like cold and warm, actually things that be cold and warm. And with that too, you're signaling warmth or coldness, right? And that's perceived, right? Because you see other things that are hot and cold. If you're getting in a pool, after like this is trivial, I know, but if you're getting in a pool, right? Are you cooling your body or heating your body? You're typically cooling down. If you're lighting a grill and there's red and yellow and orange flames spurting up, your body thinks hot, it thinks energy, it thinks like heat, right? It thinks there's activity here, there's spark and flame. So red, right, represents passion and urgency, increasing heart rates by up to 20% just by looking at something that's red. That's why they always tell you on dates to dress in red, right? Because it's like it gets your heart rate going, which to people subconsciously, they don't know it's because of the red, but they'll interpret that as a sign that they're attracted. You're kind of like manipulating someone basically, but if it works, it works. And then Coca-Cola's red drives massive impulse purchases because it creates excitement, and excitement tends to put logic on the back door. Does that make sense? Why they do that? And then obviously blue is the opposite. It stands for trust and calm. So Pepsi uses that probably mainly because Coke uses red and they're trying to be different, but Coke wants to go the other way and symbol like, we're the like legacy brand, you can put your faith in us. Like we're always gonna be around for you. Coke's more of like the I don't know. They're kind of, I don't even know how to describe a Coke commercial. I guess they're kind of trending to be the same thing, but I know in the 80s or 90s they had the like competition between the two and it was really big. But blue typically is trust and calm. Think Facebook, IBM, things like that, right? With perceived security. And that was actually important for Altura because the blues that we have on our site were there to signal trust to you guys. Kind of like a vault access, and then backed by this black and gray, like luxury aesthetic. Green symbolizes what?
Wealth, money.
Green, wealth?
Or growth, probably.
Growth is a better word. And balance is another one too. So you'll see like meditation studios, you'll see wellness clinics, right? You'll see smoothie joints use a lot of green in their coloring. Starbucks green aligns with sustainability too, is another big one, like growth or sustaining. fitting the 2025's trend where over a third of consumers prefer organic palettes amid economic uncertainty. This is a crazy fact. So when the economy is uncertain, people look for organic colors and organic patterns because they want to revert back to sustainability and kind of protecting what they have. So actually, when the economy is bad, green actually is a really powerful branding color. Yellow conveys, what do you think?
Caution, maybe.
Could. That's actually good because you see like Cat, right? You see all these builder companies that leverage yellow really well. Yellow conveys optimism, but it can also convey fatigue if overused. McDonald's yellow arches create immediate recognition and appeal. Bright too. Think about that. If it's a long day and you're like, I need something to eat, and you see golden arches, right? Optimistic. This is what they're trying to symbol. So from our Altura test, Anthony, the turquoise that we had of like our logo felt futuristic, and it was like this like cryptic thing. It's kind of a good bridge to the crypto markets. But what did it convey to you compared to like other colors, like a sage green or similar to like Notion, right? Using blacks and grays and stuff. What do you think the like turquoise was signaling?
Maybe a sense of like something new or like beginning. Maybe a little bit of that sustainability, which might have been important for a new brand, so that people can kind of instantly feel like this is built to last.
What I've seen is like anytime you step out of Roy G. Biv, right, the main like primary colors, and you get into like magentas or like turquoises, like these blendy colors, it seems to me like you're trying to quite literally combine colors. Turquoise is like a blue. We're more like a cyan than a turquoise, but I'd say it's like combining like a blue and a green. So we're combining trust and growth, which is kind of the marketing message there, which obviously is very important to what our platform is. So it's not a bad color to pick. The only problem with that is if you make that if you plaster the website with that. It needs to be subtle, because if you make the entire website about this like kind of fun, like out of the box, thing, it's not backed by something that is showing legacy and something that is like a functional, futuristic tool that is actually, solid, right? It feels like a little kid like mixing colors with paint and stuff versus an actual like mature adult behind the scenes running everything. Does that make sense? So like, use black, use gray, use silver, like all these tech companies. Apple's doing that, Notion's doing that, because to most people, they signal heads down. Literally, look at Grok, which is where I generated this script, or I had to rewrite the script. It's just black and white. ChatGPT is the same way. Yes, I actually do use Grok to help write this. What I do is I put in the notes, and then I have it just format it to say, don't make me sound stupid as I read through these notes. But yeah, black and white, very simplistic. It's supposed to be about the functionality, and that's the general thing, right? So, right, Altura's perspective, if we use black and white, we'd say, we don't really give a shit about what you think in terms of what we stand for. We are going to let you be impressed by our functionality. And a lot of the companies that do that first tend to have tech products because you can't see the software. You have to use it. Okay. So white increases perceptions of modernity and cleanliness, obviously, by 30%. Think of cleaning companies, how much white is used, things like that. Google's primary colors, red, yellow, blue, and green, break conventions to convey creativity. It's like a palette. Think of like a painter's palette. And then they're white too on the background. So it's like this blank canvas that they're like showing creative aspects for that you can go and paint your ideas out. 80% recognition from Google comes from their color scheme alone. So people could see the red, blue, green, and like patterns of the dots, and they think Google immediately. Like if you think of like the Google Mail with like the like blended red, M thing that's like shaped like an envelope, that's, you think Google immediately. These designs reduce friction. Apple's simplicity is another factor. Going outside of color, now we need to look at like, how much do you put yourself out there? Some people love the cozy feel. Communities, right, do this a lot. Discord does this a lot. Discord kind of fills up the screen with stuff. Because they want it to not feel empty. They want it to feel full of life and activity. So they add a lot of elements onto the screen. ChatGPT doesn't give a damn about you talking to other people. So it keeps it cold, isolated, where you can just focus on the conversation and nothing else because it's backed by a software. So you need to understand the difference there. Apple's simplicity aids decisions. Google's color encourages exploration. Coca-Cola's red prompts action. Color-aligned branding increases, your recognition by 80%. 80%. I've said that fact before. And consumers are 81% more likely to recall a brand's color than its name. That's a crazy fact. If I gave you a brand name right now, you could tell me the color, right? Like Canva.
Yeah, that's kind of a similar color to what we have. Tealish.
Yeah, teal to purple. It's like a gradient. What about WAP? Yeah, okay. So what about Subway?
Green and yellow.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's like you just think, you see something and you think, oh, that looks like, whatever. So, Anthony, based on those examples, actually, let me read the last fact. In platforms, especially software platforms, this can increase conversions as 46% of consumers. So, about half of consumers pay more money most of the time for trusted brands, and 55% of those first impressions are visual before they ever read the text. So, literally, what you show immediately when the website loads will determine it basically a lot of the time as a coin flip of having a chance of improving the sale or not. It could in half the cases make them immediately willing to buy. So, Anthony, based on those examples, how might Apple's minimalism idea apply to like a crypto platform like Altura with the functions we have? Do you think it enhances trust with the minimalistic style like tech companies use, or do you think it could seem too sterile compared to like Google's approach?
I think it would enhance, and I'll tell you why. I think that what you said earlier was essentially a minimalist sort of branding requires the user to actually understand what's unsaid by using the product. So I think maybe this is not exactly for every NFT space or token or cryptocurrency, but for us specifically, where we're a utility-backed token, and the upside to owning the NFT is the utility you gain from being a part of the community. I think the minimalism would sort of signal to the end user. Anyways, the minimalism would signal to the end user that's like, we're just gonna let the utility speak for itself. You need to come and check it out before you make a decision based on what it looks like. So that's how I see that fitting in for Altura. I would say maybe they probably could go the other way, where like this color you see in the background sort of sparks like excitement or creativity in the sense that of what could come, you know what I mean? Even just from, not even just from benefits of being a holder, but also from the investment upside. I know a lot of people get excited, and especially in this space, about potential upside for the price of the tokens or the crypto. So I could see it going both ways, but I did like what you said earlier about minimalism sort of signaling that you need to experience it for yourself to understand what it's about.
I noticed twice you pointed out stuff that I just put on the screen here. You got distracted while you were talking, I saw too, because of the excess shit that I threw on the screen. Versus, let's take the logo off, let's take the background and put it back, let's take the captions off. Now the only thing you guys have to pay attention to is just me and Anthony speaking. So the minimalistic drives attention to that, which, like you said, sure it's like gonna look sterile and all that, but then the thing I'll add is like you have to get deeper. Then you have to use the tool. You have to actually talk to people. There's nothing to distract you like a lot of these other creators put into their platforms. You have to use the platform for the value underneath, which is kind of what we're signaling from the start. And that's actually a lot of the times, we're competing with motion. We're competing with maybe like Opus Clip at some point, maybe Disc.
Like your audio cut out.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, it's a little lower quality, but I can hear you now.
Let me connect to my phone. Is this better? Okay. So I'm just letting my mic charge for a second because we had that long call yesterday. But when you force people to confront minimalism, it does two things. It shows them that you're serious about what you do, right? Because you don't need all this like countdown timers to purchase and all this stuff about what you do. You can stand on business. It shows that you're a little bit more developed. It's a risk to take if you're new, because that's not helping you close deals, right? Because you don't have these spammy countdown timers and social proof and all this stuff plastered on the screen. So you're taking a risk on. But the second part is it tells users that you can stand on business, that you're actually there to deliver. There you go. My phone was disconnected, so I know it's kind of bad quality for a second, but I think I can actually might be able to put this mic on while I have it plugged in. It's gonna look a little goofy though, but that's what I'm trying to say. So when ChatGPT, like why do you think ChatGPT and Notion and all these big? Can you hear me through this?
I'm just reading through your computer.
Through this now?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm just gonna hold on to it while it charges. But compared to ChatGPT or Notion and all that, why do you think they go for this so often with the services they have? Why do you think these companies that develop go that way, like Apple and all those other things?
Yeah, it seems, based on what you were saying earlier, it seems like they do that because it forces the user to explore and the tool's functions. ChatGPT in particular kind of forces you to see what it's capable of, to start asking it deeper and deeper questions to the point where you can train the AI to think and reason a certain way. Notion, there's a ton of templates out there. There's a ton of resources just built into the platform that allow you to sort of make your own operating systems, CRMs, things like that are useful for you specifically and what it is you do, whether it's everyday life or for business. I'm not really sure how it applies with Apple. I think maybe if they're applying the same concept, it would just be exploring the use of the iPhone. And every time a new one comes out, you have to take time to really understand its features and things like that, which sort of drives a little bit of hype, sort of drives a little bit of looking forward to, I guess, every time you open a new one. I definitely felt like that growing up. Because growing up, I remember the inception of the first iPhone. I was a kid, so I didn't have one, but I went from iPod to like iPhone 5, 6, 7. From then on, I've just been going on
What?
6, 8. I've just been going on, in order. But every time I'd open one, I'd be like, I couldn't wait to figure out what was new about this one. So I think that there's some of that with minimalist idea.
And we're at a weird point right now too with this color scheme thing, and the minimalistic in general. Because so like color schemes, right? If you really want to go techie and look like you're at the cream of the crop, you go space gray, you go black, like our podcast here, and you minimalize it. So by minimalization, right, the best way to do that isn't necessarily taking all the stuff off the screen. It's just changing the coloring, and then you shrink the font size and the element size to leave more empty space that's just background. So that way people are like, wow, they could have used like half of this website to add more material. They chose not to because what they have to say must be important enough to not add something to back it up. That's the subconscious signal that goes to your brains. And I think this is happening right now the last couple of years because of this AI bubble that we're in. I think AI is a big thing for companies that have these software products or websites, web apps, and they're saying, we're not going to market it because we want you to use the AI. We're not going to try and speak on behalf of the AI when you should just be using the AI. And a lot of times, like they're trying, like, so that becomes, this is kind of what's leading to my conclusion here from this podcast is, if you have a human to human service, if you're a marketing agency where you need that touch, if you're a sales agency, right? If you're a car dealership where you have to deal with people, use more color, be diverse, show your experience, and add real life images. Don't add AI images, and use different colors. Use warmer colors. If you're a tech company and if you're an AI based company in this bubble that's, I hope doesn't pop soon, but probably will, you need to go colder, techie, like think like stainless steel fridges in your kitchen style vibes. And you need to let the AI or tool that you've built speak for itself without trying to justify it, because then you're trying too hard. Okay, so now it begs the question, if Altura is in the middle of this, if we're just sitting here in the middle between a tool, an AI powered infrastructure that can help you manage the stuff you're doing, as well as a community, trying to play both sides is hard. We've tried to do that. You can look at the current website of like the blues and yellows and stuff to balance like the cold with the warm, but at the end of the day, it kind of comes down to, what do we see Altura being? I mean, the domain name itself is always going to be Altura Society for as long as I see, which signals the like human aspect of it, right? As much as we'll use AI tools. So I do actually think it's a little bit better to keep some color in there, which is why I really do like the display of the site right here. As you can see, that's like the current look of it. And I think that the blues and stuff that we have just add that touch. You know, it could just be grays and blacks, but this shows people that there's a little more to it than just that. And again, you can see that we have that bright blue. I'm pretty sure that's going to change in some way as we're working through these next round of updates. What we've been experimenting with is like a deeper, darker blue, just to signal a little bit more trust and a little less kind of spontaneity over the place. But we're still figuring things out. So I wanted to do this podcast more particularly because I want to show you guys where we're at and ask for your feedback. Let me actually show you kind of another look of what this could look like here. It could look something like this instead versus this. So like you can go a little bit darker blue here too, which signals a little bit more trust, and it's a little bit more professional, but keeps, you know, you can also swap a logo out for like a chromatic thing up here versus like more of a colorful thing, depending on the stage you're in, right? And you can tell this seems like a little bit newer company, focusing on kind of being innovative and new, right? This seems a little bit more like legacy style company. Pick what you think is going to be your best foot forward, your best messaging for everyone, and understand really what both, like even that this subtle change in coloring represents. I will say the balance between sterile, especially that we talked about, just those bipolar sides, sterile and inviting, really matters for this. So Anthony, again, something we'll have to work on moving forward and gather more feedback. But in tests, I compared ChatGPT for the like trustworthy crypto palettes inspired by like, you know, Notion type of vibe, which yielded kind of like a navy / sage, which is what you just saw up there. So something I've been testing for it. And it showed what it said specifically. It was like intellect without overload. Like when you have the bright neon-y colors in your face, it kind of is a little overwhelming and you're not sure whether or not you should trust it because it's innovative, right? It doesn't have the credibility behind it. It's a little bit darker. It still has that unique aspect, but it isn't in your face, like where it's kind of like it's kind of out there, right? It signals the reliability. So I'm trying to think of an example to let me see. Well, okay, so if you were looking for a calendar, right, would you want your calendar to be something that Well, actually, let's do this. If you're looking for a gym and you're like, I know you're serious about fitness. This is a good analogy. Would you want your gym to be the one with like that you knew had every single weight rack and weight in the right place every single time? It had plenty of weights. It was lined up the same way. Or would you want a gym that was kind of moving things around a lot and trying out different layouts every month or so?
Definitely the one that I already know where everything's at.
Because what do you do in the gym? Are you there to like test new ideas and do all this stuff, or are you trying to use it for a function?
And mostly for the function.
So when it's a functional based utility tool, right, and the actual software, the website and all that, the brand itself is the tool, then signal consistency. And the way you do that is from colors that are consistent: blacks, grays, steels. That's why you see those so much, because they're in everything nowadays. When you step inside that other frame, just know that it's fine, but you're signaling a company that is willing to innovate and explore. Which is good in different phases. But if we're trying to also sell a software to people that people can use month to month and know it's reliable, and they can actually, move their business into our ecosystem and know they're getting the same thing without it all changing up constantly, they're going to need the trust of knowing that that's not going to get changed up in a month. So that's what that darker, deeper coloring gives off. Subconscious signaling affects your outcomes. Inconsistency implies unreliability, is what I'm trying to say. In 2025's content overload, brain rot, smaller attention span than a goldfish, as we've said, 55%, so over half of your impressions that people have on you are aesthetic driven, as much as you don't want them to. So they look at your Instagram, they look at how clean is this? They look at, is this an HD photo, a 4K photo? Proper colors can improve funnel completion by 27%. Just from proper color schemes. So yes, this is important because this could be over a quarter extra revenue for you guys. Or the difference, maybe that last 25% that determines if it's a purchase or not. 60% accept or reject products. 60% accept or reject products based on color. If you don't believe me, go take, your wife to a clothing store and show her 2 different shirts, and 90% of impressions rely on it. Altura's cyan signaled risk, which is why we're moving to something that's a little bit more trustworthy. I've tested this navy style color, things like that. But we want to signal assurance, and I'm open to your guys' feedback. If you think there's a better scheme we could try. My final call to action is, first of all, asking Anthony, is there anything else you think we should cover or add before we wrap this episode up, or anything you're wondering?
Yeah, it's coloring, presentability, but also like if this is I guess it doesn't have to be a personal brand, but also like quality of things alters people's opinions about it as well. Like you think clothing, like Walmart sells jeans that look pretty similar to, more expensive, let's say Wranglers. You go to Boot Barn or something like that. And they look similar. Oftentimes they're the same brand, actually. They just get made in different manufacturing plants based on quality. And so color might be the same, presentation might be the same, but like the quality of the product you're putting out as well is like something to consider. And a lot of times I'm sure it might be more beneficial for you to prioritize the speed at which something gets produced, the volume at which something gets produced versus its quality. But I think that like the actual, I guess that those things as an umbrella could just be called overall utility. Like it matters to like how a person feels like using the thing. Is it like, is your silverware that you sell heavier? Is it lighter? But maybe it's more mass producible if it's not, which makes you more money. I'm not really sure. Those are things to consider as well. Like what does a person feel using this? And I think that goes into the branding as well. And if you want to apply it to Altura, we don't necessarily want people to come in feeling like this is a high risk thing, which would have been associated with maybe that teal color, as it's an innovation kind of thing. We want people that come in with full confidence and assurance in the value that is to be had from paying for the price of an NFT, the entry ticket, or the Accelerate plan. And then from that point, like because they feel like they're getting a good value, like actually put work into getting that value out. Because to a certain degree, we can provide all the tools, resources, networking events, whatever else. To a certain degree, it does depend on the user and how they perceive its value to get something out of it. So we want people that definitely feel like this is something that's worth their money, something that's bringing them value and is high quality. Because that's how we want them to treat what it is we're providing them.
Yeah, exactly. And again, the website is right here, alturasociety.com. Like it'll be in the description and all that. Obviously, I remember when I was in high school, I don't know why I remember this, but I was buying soup. I was buying cans of soup from a lot. Maybe I was sick, but I was at the grocery store and I looked at, they had Campbell's and they had Progressive, I think. I don't know, Progressive. or yeah, whatever. And the Campbell's one said official soup of the Green Bay Packers. And I was like, these look the same. I'm just gonna pick the one that has the Packers logo on it because I'm from Wisconsin. When the products are so similar and in competing markets where everybody's doing AI, everybody's doing fitness coaching, everybody's doing XYZ. If you're a fitness coach, people are going to look for you when everybody's offering the same thing based on what makes you different. And one of the best things that can make you different are the things you associate yourself, which is why people buy the courses of the people that own Lamborghinis, because they associate with wealth. They've clearly done something right in life. I'm sure it's a lot of fake lifestyle, right? The better thing is to associate yourself with successful people that have changed their lives. But all in all, the more similar products get, the more you have to rely on the other parts of branding, which are your color schemes. Right? At the end of the day, if products are completely the same, you're going to look at which color's better. You're going to look at who has said the one, well, my brother's uncle's cousin said something about this one software. If they're so damn similar and I have nothing to go off, price is a great one. And most of the times we're pretty competitive on price. Actually, we're better than everybody on price. And Anthony can confirm that. You know, we're building tools that would cost $30 to $40 a month separately. And we're doing 5 or 6 tools for $15 a month, which is literally has to be a scam, right? Is what it feels like. Because that's how much value we're trying to drive at the beginning. So we're not even in the competitive game with anybody. It's not even a decision, which helps in the first place. But at the end of the day, understand if you're needing a way to increase your sales, if people are falling off, if they're confused, that is why. I would start with looking at your Instagram. Is your Instagram signaling consistency? Are your captions the same? Are you putting captions in the video in the same spot? Is your formatting different every time? So it's great to test, use your trial reels, post a bunch of stuff. But at the end of the day, keep posting what's working most of the time. Only test about 10 to 20% of the time. If you're a brand new account, sure. But most of you guys should kind of figure out your rhythm and stick with it. A lot of times it's not about trying new things constantly until like you make $1 million. It's about doing the same thing, as boring as it is, and just doing it enough times. And that's boring. Like sitting on a podcast 30 times as we're approaching and talking about the same project every time, the same movement. It's boring, but eventually you got to commit. And we could figure out what to call it. If we want to call it the Altura podcast, the Ascended podcast with Caleb and Anthony, the Ascended podcast, the Caleb Schulke podcast. You got to pick something and just stick with it. So hopefully the tips I gave you helped. Hopefully you go to alturasociety.com, and for the price of Taco Bell, set up one tool that will quite literally have everything you're going to need for the rest of your life to be an entrepreneur and to achieve success. And that is a bold promise, which is why I want you to go validate that and check that out, because I can prove to you with the site I just showed you that it exists. Anthony, any last words?
For the price of maybe 1 or 2 months of Taco Bell, you can also have it for life right now. And not only that, but also get access to voting rights, real world meetups that are going to happen. I mean, it's kind of crazy to see like the roadmap and the progression, the trajectory we're already on. So happening pretty soon here. Yeah. And the way you'd be getting that is, instead of the accelerated plan, you just be getting an NFT, which in and of itself is pretty much guaranteed to go up in value. I mean, we can't promise that, but the demand for what it is we're building is inevitably going to go way higher than it is right now, because Caleb and I are adequate, and because the value is just too undeniable. Like we're combining the best of like 3 different worlds, from like the entrepreneurial scene, education scene, the crypto scene, into something that none of those particular industries have seen before. Making life extremely easy for an aspiring entrepreneur to just have all the tools, resources, education you need in one spot. I'll digress and say that, once again, all that could also be yours for like a couple months worth of Taco Bell at that, 0.06 Ethereum price for one, which is the lowest it'll ever be, current pre-sale price. And you get to be a member for life. Pass that down to your grandkids one day. Let them be a member once we have a headquarters set up in like 3 different countries, and anybody in the world who is an aspiring entrepreneur or is anybody, with a name can also be a part of it. So.
Yeah, we can't promise investment or like returns, or this isn't actual advice, right? We can't promise anything with our token. But imagine if the founder of Google came up to you and said, I'm for $200, you can sit at all of what's about to be Google's board meetings for the rest of your life, go to their private summits. You can use all of their products in the premium modes for free, and get a small share of rewards from some of the money Google's organization makes over time. Not a share necessarily, but when we launch our cryptocurrency, you guys are going to get airdrop that to use for utility benefits inside of our space. Obviously it's a cryptocurrency too, so you can buy things with it. But imagine that, and that's exactly where we're at right now. So if you guys can't see that and want to buy multiple NFTs, I don't understand what else to tell you. You're probably just not the right person then to be in this space, which is why we've been able to sell quite a few up to this point in the pre-sale. and it's just going to snowball from this point forward. So if you want to lock in your membership price at $15 a month when we're about to provide $300 of value every single month, that we can compare to Notion, to Motion, to Google Workspace, all the stuff out there. And you can quite literally compare it side by side and see that this is a clear win. You can lock it in now for $15 and you'll never have to pay more money than that as we increase the price, which we will as we continue building. But thank you guys for your time. Thanks for episode 27. And we're pushing to 30. I appreciate all of you for being here. Anthony, you got anything else or?
Nope, that's all. Appreciate you guys. I know we're getting a lot more traction as the last few of them, even in like the public ones, to a point where people are joining us and dropping ideas. And I love to see that. So thank you guys for it.
Yeah, and everybody that hung out for that hour or something last night when we were doing bug fixes. I'm going to be doing that tonight. I'm going to go get some food after this, and then I'll be in the Discord. If you guys want to go to alturasociety.com, sign up, and then go to the chat and hop in the Discord. I'll be in the executive lounge working. You guys can just hop in and chat with me if you want to talk through ideas. But I quite literally want to build this with you. So if you have advice and you're going to be free in about an hour, let's go meet up and kick some butt on this. And let's make this really great. I'm working on specifically tonight the calendar stuff, fixing the aesthetic too, as we talked about. I want to get the AI calendar similar to like Google Calendar or Motion. And then I also want to give Vision AI some more upgrades. The goal, guys, is I want to launch an app on your iPhone, and we could do that within a month or so, where you can like Grok or like ChatGPT talk to Altura AI or Vision AI, and then it can actually schedule events on your calendars without you having to have a million different apps installed and be planning all this shit out on your own. And you have one app that controls your entrepreneurial and business life for any side hustle or startup you have going on. And you can integrate all your accounts to it, like your Google account, your Outlook, whatever it is. It's gonna be pretty sweet. You can say I'm over promising right now, but all of the things I just mentioned are already visible things that might not be fully hooked up yet. Sure, there might be bugs with it, but you can at least see how all of that exists on the actual platform that's live. So pretty cool. But thank you guys. Thank you for watching. And as always, I'm rooting for you. Take care.